Today we're back at the high end with a keyboard from Varmilo. Varmilo is one of those keyboard companies that I like to follow because they're always coming out with different, unique and classy products even though it is a niche market. And this keyboard is no exception. This is the Varmilo VA68Mg RGB mechanical keyboard, and by extension this will give you some insight to the aluminium version, the VA68M. This keyboard comes in a few varieties. The main other one is the said more standard aluminium alloy version, the popular VA68M, which is more common and cheaper than this and is for the most part the same. The box is one of those nice textured ones and has magnets to close it, and I do test the keyboards for a while before filming and I can't remember at all how this was packaged, so yeah, keep that in mind. Opening up the box, we have some paperwork, the keyboard itself. We have a Varmilo branded keycap puller. One of the nicest mini USB cables I've seen come with a keyboard with the little end covers as well. A coiled right angle mini USB cable. And a short right angled mini USB cable. Just an amazing array of cables with nice gold plated ends as well, giving us flexibility for cable management. And they also included a really nice keyboard sleeve, but this was made for a 10 keyless keyboard, so it is a bit big. And here's the keyboard, and it's undoubtedly one of the classiest keyboards I've made a video on. I have the silver version, but Varmilo also have other really awesome looking colors and keycaps, but this is probably one of the more traditional looking ones. This is a 65% keyboard, meaning that it's about 65% of a standard full-size keyboard, so it's like a 60% board, but with the dedicated arrow keys and some nav keys. It has the exact same layout as the popular budget Magic 468, meaning that it has completely standard sized keycaps, so replacing keycaps will be no problem, but these are really nice keycaps anyway. So these keycaps will be easier to replace in comparison to the popular 65% Leopold FC660M, which is the same as this Arcus Retro Tiny. It's slightly shorter and narrower than a 10 keyless keyboard, so we're missing the dedicated function row keys at the top and some more nav cluster keys. And of course it's much smaller than a full-size keyboard without the numpad on the side, giving you much more lateral space. I personally really love 65% keyboards, and I find it to be my personal sweet spot between size and primary functionality, and I just love the look as well. However, these tend to not have the programmability and customizability that say a 60% would have. First, we can change the number row to the function row by pressing function and either page up or page down. We can also swap the function key and the Windows key by holding them for 3 seconds, and we can swap the left control and the caps lock key by holding function and left control for 3 seconds, and that's about it. The build of this is an interesting one and sets it apart from others. This is made from a magnesium alloy and is die cast, unlike the common CNC'd aluminium that you see on many keyboards. There's actually a really good post on the process of this, which I'll link in the description, and it's some awesome stuff where they start with the actual ingots, die cast it and then hand finish it. And they have a table which puts it against aluminium, plastic and steel. There's like hardly any fully steel keyboards, but it's of course heaps lighter than those. The main comparison though is the aluminium. They state that magnesium alloy is 33% lighter, but at the same time has great mechanical properties as well as better corrosion resistance. So it's great that it's light for taking around if need be, while staying super solid, but I do love me a heavy keyboard, and that's where I personally actually would like the weight of the aluminium version. The design of the keyboard is a simple rectangular design. As said before, this comes in a variety of colours with different cases and keycaps. This one has the sleek silver case with grey and white keycaps. Looking at the side profile, it has a slight natural inclination, but can be increased with the flip up feet. The top line is actually slightly curved to fit the sculptured keys, and these are actually shorter than OEM profile ones that you'll find on majority of keyboards. On the rear we have our mini USB port, and even the bottom of the keyboard looks pleasing with simplistic branding and information, although I do miss their Comic Sans logo. There's a couple of feet for non-slip. The two flip-up feet are also flush with the other feet when down, which I thought was cool. Now to the lighting. This is an RGB keyboard, however because these don't have any backlit keycaps, the lighting acts as a tasty underglow for the keycaps. While it may not make any sense to some people, it's a more subtle way of adding light to a keyboard, and is one of the preferred ways for many enthusiasts if they're to have any lighting at all. The lighting was pretty difficult to understand since the VA68M manual isn't the same, and as far as I'm aware there's no English manual for this yet. Interestingly, they've stored the lighting setups on the top alpha row, which is a first for me, and this is all controlled via the function key, so I guess they couldn't put it on the function row. Function and Q are the solid profiles. There are 8 profiles on here which by default are assigned to each color, and we can switch between these with function and the left arrow key. The cool thing is that each of those 8 profiles can be color customized. This is done by pressing function and tab and simply customizing each key. So what I've done on one of them is make a rainbow pattern, and we can see how nicely that underglow flows and blends, and these profiles are then used for the rest of the modes which I'll go through. Function and W is the breathing mode in which we can choose any of those 8 profiles. E is a wave mode. R is a ripple mode. T is a snake mode, but when you type it lights up different colors. Y is a single key reactive mode. U is a single key reactive mode but with random colors. I is a firework mode with different colors. O is a rainfall mode which looks quite pastely. P just cycles through the colors but each key also reacts. Left square bracket does this random color reactive mode. And right square bracket is a breathing mode with that reactive lighting as well. The main issue I have with the lighting is the customizability of the colors. While it is RGB, we only have access to 8 colors that we can actually customize. While it does cover most colors you would want, I expect more because the LEDs themselves are perfectly capable of doing so. Like with yellow, it's a very fluoro type of yellow, and then it just goes to orange. I would have really liked a bit more of a vibrant yellow, but you can't do that, and then there's no pink with only purple. This is where I think the onboard lighting system on the IKBC F87 really makes sense, where you can bring up color palettes and choose from there. Overall though, the lighting is subtle and classy. It won't help you see the legends on your keycaps at night, so it's more of an aesthetic thing rather than functional. Taking off the keycaps, and we have some really nice 1.5mm thick PBT keycaps. Again, these are shorter than the standard OEM ones you find on majority of keyboards. They have dye sublimated legends which are crisp and hard wearing. Underneath the keycaps we have the Cherry MX Silent Red switches, also sometimes referred to as Cherry MX Pink. These are a light and linear switch, so basically just the standard Cherry MX Reds, but the upstroke and bottoming out sounds are dampened. I've done a full in-depth look at these switches in another video if you want to check it out. And here's a quick sound test. So yeah, they're nice and quiet, the travel distance is shortened slightly, and the feel isn't as crisp as it has a very slight cushion. This keyboard is available in a variety of key switches though, so you can pick whatever you want to fit your needs. Taking the keyboard apart is very easy with just a couple of Phillips head screws, and we also have to remove the bottom row keycaps so the keyboard can slip out. Here we have the top shell. Despite not having much structure to it, the magnesium alloy is super strong, so there's no twist. We can press the top and bottom inwards though, but it's mostly the bottom, and the rim at its thickest point is at about 4.5 mils. On the inside it's pretty basic, and we can clearly see this pink finish. The visible inside edges are pretty well covered, but in some spots we can see that pink color, which I'll talk about later. The bottom piece is stunning. I just love stuff like this. There's no flex, no twist, no nothing, but at the same time it's really light. The protruding edges are at about 2.5mm thick, and this just adds to the outer top shell, effectively making the thickest point at about 6mm. For many aluminium bases with high-end keyboards, they're usually CNC milled, so it's really cool to see a die-cast case. The feet can be taken off with a few screws by ripping some glue off if you for some reason need to, and yeah, nice and metal and not plastic. The backplate or mounting plate for the key switches is 1.5mm thick. I don't know for sure if this is also magnesium alloy, but we can assume so, but it's definitely not steel as it's not magnetic. The PCB is the Varmilo 68Mg RGB version 3.0, and the timestamp on this is the 18th of November 2016, so quite recent. It would make sense that this would be the same PCB on the newer RGB VA68Ms, but I have no confirmation on that. Okay, so one of the biggest downsides for me is the exterior finish of the case. In accordance with their post, the magnesium alloy case is electroplated and then sprayed with a ceramic paint. In my case though, there is pink under the silver, so I asked about it and was told it may have previously been a pink version of the case. Therefore it would be paint over paint. I don't know how good the adhesion is in this situation, but it is an odd situation. My experience with this finish though isn't great. It scratches quite easily, as seen with a few spots on the keyboard, and I've been using this keyboard on and off for maybe 2 to 3 months. Scratching the inside of the case with my flathead screwdriver and not even pressing that hard, and it scratches very easily, not that you would do this anyway. In addition to this, the not so great spray coverage on the inside edges where it still can be seen with the keyboard assembled is just a lack of attention to detail. And I'm not talking about the inside edges like over here, cause that's absolutely fine. This may be an isolated incident, but this is what I was given. Okay, so this is definitely a premium mechanical keyboard and it's only for that select few people, but I more wanted to show what this keyboard represents. There's no doubt that this is a luxury item where a bulk of that hefty price is just because of the magnesium alloy case, but that's what I respect about Varmilo. We're quite a niche community and they create high-end and unique products, which makes their stuff even more niche, but they do it anyway. A really cool example of this is how they released a bunch of different layouts for a couple of their keyboards, which included many ISO variants with French, German, Italian, Spanish and more. I might be sounding a bit too positive, but I really appreciate and commend sizable mechanical keyboard companies doing different things. It shows what can be done and further validifies the niche market that is premium mechanical keyboards. And we have to be honest in that this isn't really a practical purchase and is definitely an enthusiast type product. The magnesium alloy construction is wonderfully strong and also really light. The shorter profile die subbed PBT keycaps feel and look amazing and classy. It's available with a multitude of switches, with Cherry MX silent boards not the easiest to come by at the moment. And finally, the RGB underglow for the keycaps gives it that bit of optional edge. The glaring negative for me and a real mismatch is the quality of the finish. It just doesn't cut it and scratches quite easily. It's a complete contrast to the rest of the well-made and refined keyboard, so hopefully they can and will improve in that, which I'm sure they will. Their website is a bit iffy, so I'll link their representative's Reddit account and you can see many of their products there. But hopefully Varmilo can continue to pump out these interesting products because it really was a pleasure to use this.